What's up? Does it work? Hello and hello. Oh crap, I need to mute. Did I mute it? Okay. Testing, testing, testing. Let me know if you can hear me because I have made a lot of changes. Why do I hear myself? Why is this echoing? Advanced audio. Ah, monitor and output. Okay, that makes sense. Now it's good. Okay, now it's no longer echoing, I suppose, and hope. I need some feedback. Do you see and hear me? That's very important. La 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 la. We are being led today. Oh, my bot has joined the channel. Icebot says yes. Okay, good. Northern Chimp, welcome in. And the ear and the thumb, good. I will prepare the material for today on a screen which you cannot see just yet. Okay, let's give a couple of minutes for, I don't know, Zoran to join in and whoever is coming today. So how are you? What's going on this Sunday? I'm doing good myself, but a bit hot today. 27 degrees. Oh, it's about there here as well. Air conditioning and stuff like that. Bones. I didn't cut it properly. Mm-hmm. I have ArcBoy, welcome in. I have air conditioning, but it's on the end of this hallway in another room. So I left the door open so everyone in my house can hear me, but at least I get a tiny bit of cooler air. There we go. No more warm air for now. Argboy says, was just chatting in your matrix. Yeah, I saw it, but as I was preparing for the stream, I couldn't respond to every message. Northern Chimp says it's been 27 degrees last few days, but today only 25. Today we had, I wasn't even paying attention, but 29. Oh, now is 29. Now is 29 at 7 p.m. I suppose it was a little bit warmer during the day. Argboy says, I'm surprised people wear trousers. I have to wear trousers to work, but I'm home now, so I don't care. I usually just wear jeans for work and use air conditioning there and in my car. I have no idea what do you call this in English. But it's good for getting a little bit chilled. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Ah, apparently it's called the same as in Croatian. That's what I'm eating. Yeah, I agree. On the camera, it doesn't quite look very recognizable. So long as you don't stand up, suddenly we don't care. I'm not in my underwear. That's fine. I'm in whatever I use to go outside. Long silence. I'm just waiting for more people to gather up, but it looks like you don't have much topics to discuss, yeah? Today I was trying to install ZFS on root on Debian. It was a little bit complex and I didn't really succeed. Do a stream announcement. Argboy says, I don't get it. What do you mean do a stream announcement? What's that supposed to mean? We are already streaming. I did check Matrix. Kevin Ellis just subscribed. Thanks. On Matrix, yeah, okay. I usually forget these things. Let's do it. Why can't I copy this? Copy text, yes. Let's do it elsewhere, just for fun. My brain is not functioning very well today. Silver Sword .online, new post. Live on YouTube. I'm gonna make... Let's just remove the part that apparently is not compatible with this, with Mastodon. Maintain the integrity of file systems. Let's post that here. Click it to see if it works. Add some emojis. Why is this that here? Okay, I see now. X.com. Am I logged in there? I am not. Okay, let's close this. Let's see if I'm logged in on another browser. I'm not logged in on another browser. Maybe maybe on Firefox. Let's see there. X.com. I'm not logged in here either. I'm too lazy to log on to X right now. Do a siren or red C emoji. Not sure about that, but I know, but I can add siren, I suppose. Let's go for Silver Sword once again. Let me go to preferences, administration. Custom emojis, siren. Okay, which siren is good? Blue one, yellow one, red one. Which one is nice? This one here from Shit Poster Club. Argway says I need to create a website. Do you know sources where I can learn how to create a good and minimal website? I really like yours. Yeah, let me... A blue one is nice as well. Looks like a police. But let's take this one. Let's take this one. Copy. Okay. My posts. Let's edit this post. Siren here. Update. Did it work? Yeah. Okay, now it's spinning here. Now it's spinning. Alexei, I actually was considering replacing my website, the one that looks like DOS, with 95 up to 2000 websites. Yeah, with blinking text and GIFs, or I almost said GIFs, GIFs, yeah, all around. I kind of like that design. Not sure if I'm really capable of making something like that, but it's a nice throwback to simpler times and no JavaScript and stuff like that. How did I learn how to make it? I did not really make my website. It's just a theme for. Let me show you. Let me show you GitHub. I think that's my website here on GitHub. Yeah. So the static website generator called Hugo. You can install it on any distribution. I use Hugo for static website generation, and the theme that I'm using is Hugo .386, which is like a remake of a similar called theme from something else. I'm not sure. Bootstrap .386. I don't know what's that from. Originally it wasn't for Hugo, but for something else. I don't know. I just took that theme and altered it to what I needed. I didn't make too many alterations, but some of the things were not configurable, so I changed them in the code. But honestly, I did not do too much work with that one. Alex, I think we're going to get epilepsy from 95/2000 websites. I don't think so. Zoran, welcome in. Arcboy says, I prefer manually writing HTML and CSS. If you have time to learn that, then why not? Why not? Iceblade is asking, what is a BBS? That's short for Bulletin Board System. Iceblade, before the internet was born, and I suppose you're aware what internet is. It's a connection of like roughly infinite amount of computers connected together, right? Yeah. So before internet, BBS was a way for people to host websites, which weren't really called websites at the time. You could have your own BBS server, and you could have a modem connection lines, like phone lines, and other people could phone into your modem, and when they would do that, they would get access to your BBS. And on BBS, they could leave messages, they could upload and download files, they could use chat, play online video games, stuff like that. There are still actively maintained BBS systems, but the modern version of BBSs today are telnet based, basically, and they work over TCP/IP, so basically over the internet. "20 minutes in. Shall we? Nick K, welcome in. By the way, is the microphone sounding any better this time compared to 2 days ago? 2 days ago was my first attempt into tuning it, and the what do you call this? The boom arm or whatever. It wasn't long enough to reach my mouth. But frankly, the old mic was, I think, better at coping with the distance of my mouth. This one kind of prefers me to be closer. I have made a couple of short recordings and I listened to myself like talking like this, and it seemed fine. But I am going to listen to myself after this stream ends to see if it worked properly. I think it's good. I think it's good, but I'm gonna check it after the stream. If you hear any noise around me, any noise whatsoever, but more blocked sound. What do you mean blocked sound? Do you mean like sound that looks like a block, like a cube? Or blocked sound in terms of being blocked by something and you can't really hear me properly? Like, is it interrupted or... I cannot really monitor myself because I use filters on my computer, and if I would play back myself on the computer, then you would hear echo. Weirdo, welcome in. Can you hear you well? I the volume is not so good. The volume is not so good. You mean you would prefer the volume to be louder? Iceblood says, not sure how to describe what I meant, like less human voice move bass. Move bass? I would, but louder, I would agree with Nick. I can tune it a bit. The only problem is that I cannot really hear myself. I cannot really hear myself what I am doing, so I'm going to do it blindly. Zoran says, for me, it's okay. Yeah, but Zoran, you use headphones. I have earbuds in. Yeah. Let me just check filters. I'm not really using any amplifiers like anywhere. Your voice actually sounds better than the last time. Let's put 5 dB here. There. Now it's just a little bit stronger. I am fairly certain that I can go up to 10 dB without losing any quality. So if you want, I can go up, like up to 10. But already I can see in the OBS that I tend to hit the red bar. So I'm not sure if I should go beyond this point. Alejandro, welcome in. Alexei, is the voice still fine at this point after increasing the volume for 5? I just don't want to be clipping. No clipping? Okay. What tool am I using for adjusting it? I will show you. Listening through laptop speakers. Okay. I think Zoran may be the best one to judge stuff through headphones. This is for ArcBoy. This is the video from a couple of days ago that I have explained how this software works. I think it's my last video or the one before last one. I got over-ear headset. Yeah, okay, so you and Zoran then. Argboy says I will mute this stream and go watch it. Be right back. Okay. Let me log in. SSH. I have something in my keyboard. Stuck. Okay, not anymore. There we go. I'm just quickly doing an update of the system for no good reason. Practicing my -U command. Core utils, Firefox, grub. Kitty. Kernel. Nick K is asking, what do you think about Odyssey? I think it's more fair than YouTube. Can you define what fair means? What does the term fair mean in your head? Odyssey.com. Let's go to... Where is the technology here? Technology, there we go. Technology on Odyssey. Okay, so you got this guy here with the best sound. Zoran is asking, are we on 104.2? Yes, we are. Let me put this on the bookmarks toolbar. Okay. Neil Thompson says, I hope you looked more into stories about Xlibre deal. It's interesting, and so many media are spinning it in their own way. The most balanced video so far is Brody Robertson's. I didn't... I don't think I watched anyone's video on Xlibre. Like, literally nobody. Not... I'm perfectly fine with someone trying to take over the development of Xlibre. It's just that they need to prove themselves. It's a really hard job, and the road for them ahead is really, really difficult. They have no back. Let's pretend that these developers behind Xlibre are professional developers who are really capable of bringing the ball home, if that makes sense. Like, they are let's say that they're capable of doing it. They have no backings from any corporation. Now that may sound like totally unnecessary thing, but it could be relevant. No, um, how do I put it? No big Linux distribution announced any kind of support for Xlibre just yet. They got forked like, what is it, a week ago? So, how long is it going to live? 5 days? When are they going to die? Like in a month, in a year, in 100 years? There is an end to it, right? But where is it? So I can attempt to play a journalist, but I'm really not that. We can talk about it live on the next stream, but like really making a news out of that, that's not really my channel. I don't really do news. And the reason I don't do news is because in order to make news, you would have to be a journalist. And that's not really what I am. In theory, I could be if I really wanted to do that, but then I would be just the journalist. And I don't feel that. I don't feel good about that kind of hobby. Pitts, hello and welcome in. Neil Thompson says it's really interesting. Do look into the stories about it. I did. I did. There, there is nothing really to see about that. You get a guy who has been one of the only ones who have been contributing to the Xorg in the past years, and apparently his code is trash. And I say apparently because I don't know if his code is good. I am not a programmer, so the only thing I can see is that the current Xorg developers are deleting his code actively from Xorg. So one of the reasons why they could be doing that is because they don't want to be how do you call it when you lend someone the money and he owes you? So how does that work in free software code? When you give your code to a bigger project, the project kind of owes you for that code, and if he's expelled from the project, then maybe maybe they have to delete his code. I'm not sure, but even if he's a really good developer, which I'm saying I cannot be the judge of that, I still think that there is a lot that could hinder his progress. And by a lot, I mean like will GNOME continue X11, Xlibre, Xorg support, whatever you call it? They will not. The GNOME has already announced that they are going to drop Xorg support completely. So you will never be able to run GNOME on Xlibre in the future. It just will not be possible. Katie, I'm not sure about them, and stuff like that. Neil Thompson says, I get what you're saying, but there is a lot more to the story, and it really is interesting and worth having a look at. You didn't really tell me anything. You didn't give me any meat. You're just telling me that there is more to the story. I'm saying that I'm actually cheering for this guy to actually succeed because I like to have options. If he succeed, we have more options in the Linux ecosystem to work with. So why not? But I I'm not sure if he can pull it off. That's the problem. Adrian Kamilovsky, hey and welcome in. Iceblood says, wait, I just realized you have changed matrix link to FOSS headquarters. Is that now the default one? Iceblade, the room is still the same. I only changed the alias. The alias is literally just a link. If you go to my room, and how do you see this in this program? If you go to my room, you can still see that the room ID is still on matrix.org. And this is something that I cannot change. But the alias I have changed to FOST-headquarters.org. Alexei says not every piece of his code was trash. There were real bug fixes there. Yeah, but the way that Phoronix presented the news gives an average reader a general idea that everything was trash. I didn't really look into it, but here is what this says. The Xorg server has been seeing a lot of commits this week to revert bad code. That's how this article starts, to revert bad code. Many Phoronix readers have been asking why I haven't been covering news of Xlibre. No, I simply vote of no confidence. This is actually fine. He doesn't have to have confidence, but whatever. It's highly unlikely to succeed, whatever. A great example now are all of the reverts hitting the Xorg server Git code after long time developers began going through the code committed by the Xlibre developer. And there was this revert for not handling copyright and licenses correctly, breaking some functionality, breaking NVIDIA driver, questionable value, making changes without the prior knowledge, why some macros are added in the first place. The list goes on. So the entire article only mentions bad code. So take it as you will, but generally Phoronix does have quite a lot of readers. So from this article, if I would not get my hands into all of the real journalism, like detective stuff on my own, I could read from here that all of his code was garbage. That's what Michael wrote. At the same time, Alexei says, I've heard Kevin developers saying that almost no one ever even tests X11 Kevin nowadays, so I have doubts it will have an impact enough to change the narrative. And you already said about GNOME, yeah? Well, it makes sense that they revert just the bad code. Why would they revert good one? I agree. I was only stating that this particular article in front of you now on the screen is written in a way that it attempts to persuade the average reader that this particular Xlibre developer is like a low-tier developer and all his code needs to be removed. That's how this article is constructed. I have read it twice. Neil Thompson says, sorry for the lack of depth, but there is too much to post here, and like you, I'm not a journalist. I'm just saying it's really interesting and worth getting the story from many angles. I can try. I can try to give this guy a little bit more publicity, but generally, if you look here, if you look here, if you look here, what can I do with this? Now, really, if I have anything at all to say as an opinion piece, who is going to listen to that? Really, what I can do, I can help people learn something, and this something must be somewhere in the within my reach of my own knowledge. I can go a little bit overboard with my own knowledge, but not too much, and I can help people to learn some stuff. I can make a little tutorials. I can make a little reviews on various software, but opinions, I'm just not sure that anyone would value those from me. You have Brody with 100,000 viewers. You have DT with I don't know how many, 300,000. And the Nick guy, the Linux experiment, he has how much? 400. Those are the people whose opinions are being valued on these kinds of platforms. So I'm not sure I can really make a dent, no matter how hard I try. You can add more publicity to yourself by hyping on this team. What do you mean by team? You mean this team here? This one? Arcboy, spit it out quickly and then we go on with the lesson. Thank you very much, Nick K. Arcboy is asking, how did you grow your channel this much? How did I get 3,000 subscribers in a year and a half? By uploading 200 videos. Okay, maintain the integrity of file systems. Let's skip straight to some text, to some screen reading. Modern Linux file systems are journaled. This means that every operation is registered in an internal log, the journal, before it is executed. If the operation is interrupted due to a system error like a kernel panic, power failure, etc., it can be reconstructed by checking the journal, avoiding file system corruption and loss of data. This greatly reduces the need for manual file system checks, but they may still be needed. Knowing the tools used for this and the corresponding parameters may represent the difference between dinner at home with your family or an all-nighter in the server room at work. In this lesson, we will discuss the tools available to monitor file system usage, optimize its operation, and how to check and repair the damage. Checking disk usage. There are two commands that can be used to check how much space is being used and how much is left on a file system. The first one is DU, which stands for disk usage. DU is or do is recursive in nature. In its most basic form, the command will simply show how many 1 kilobyte blocks are being used by the current directory and all its subdirectories. Let's give it a try. Okay, do. Yeah, so maybe this wasn't the smartest decision. Let's go to downloads and type do here. So we don't have anything here. So that's just a little bit of size on this folder. This is not very helpful. So we can request more human readable output by adding the -h parameter. I'm pretty sure that H stands for human. So it's like 4K. Let's go to this folder. So it's still doing the recursive thingy. Startup cache, 27 megabytes and stuff like that. Why do I have mosquito in this room? That's not good. By default, do only shows the usage count for directories, considering all files and subdirectories inside it. To show an individual count for all files in the directory, use the -a parameter. Okay, so now we get some more output. The default behavior is to show the usage of every subdirectory, then the total usage of the current directory, including subdirectories. In the example above, we can see that the subdirectory temp occupies 4.8 megabytes and the current directory, including temp, occupies 6 megabytes. But how much space do the files in the current directory occupy, including the subdirectories? For that, we have the -S parameter. There are a lot of files here. Keep in mind that command line parameters are case sensitive. If you want to keep this distinction between the space used by the files in the current directory and the space used by subdirectories, but also want a grand total at the end, you can add the -C parameter. Let's add that one. So 359 megabytes total. Alexei says -S. I did what they wanted me to do. Unless you want me to do the small caps as well. Yeah, sorry, slow reading. If you want me to, I was thinking about going through the lesson a tiny bit faster, but then that means concentrating more on the PDF and less on the chat. So if you want me to read something from the chat, maybe tag me, because if you tag me, then with my peripheral vision, I can see something red in chat. Or install doof. Small caps S gets rid of subdir stats, print just the summary. Okay. My most used command is just the small caps and H, just to see the just to see how big something is. Just sh. Yeah, see the difference below. Without dash d, you get this kind of result, just human readable, but everything, and limiting the depth to one level with dash d1. Okay, so dash d1 makes this kind of output. However, if we would do like this, this one doesn't catch the dot files or dot folders. Okay, we can combine these commands to however we like. Shopt-s.glob. I have no clue what that means. What even is shopt? Is that a command? Set and unset shell options. Change the settings of each shell option. Without any option arguments, list each supplied opt name or all shell options if no opt name are given. Okay. .glob. I see what I did. I'm just trying to figure out how did we do it. .glob makes asterisk match hidden elements. Okay. Adrian says Florp and LibreWolf equals finally. Iceblood is asking what shopt is. Well, it's displayed on the screen. Set and unset shell options. First time I'm using that. I keep looking at this direction, which means I need to tune this a little bit. Should be a bit better now. Please note that even if another dir is not being shown, its size is still being taken into account. You may wish to exclude some types of files from the count, which you can do with --exclude equals pattern, where pattern is the pattern against which you wish to match. Consider this directory. Now we will use --exclude to filter out every file with the bin extension. Let's take this and see what kind of big files did I have. I've had some big files here, but they didn't have extensions. $333 megabytes. What if we exclude JSON files? That won't change the file size, the total file size too much. Oh, it actually did. How is it bigger now? Because there are some bin files, actually. 359. Okay, so we can exclude some files with the disk usage command if we do not want to count some type of files. This will probably be one of the questions in the end, so feel free to remember. Note that the total no longer reflects the size of the excluded files. Checking for free space. Disk usage works at the files level. There is another command that can show you disk usage and how much space is available at the file system level. This command is df. The command df will provide a list of all of the available and already mounted file systems on your system, including their total size, how much space has been used, how much space is available, the usage percentage, and where it is mounted. Zoran says do and df combined is doof. Is it installed by default? It's not. Yeah, so df does what you all already know. Commands not installed by default on the operating system that you use are not that useful, especially for server purpose. For a workstation, it's fine because that's what you're going to tune for yourself. But for a server, it's much more important to learn the defaults because you will not be able to install stuff on a server. It's just the way it is. You can sometimes, but not always. However, showing the size in 1 kilobyte blocks is not very user friendly. Like you can add the dash h parameters to get a more human output. Okay. Megabytes, 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 gigabytes, and stuff like that. You can also use the dash I parameter to show used / available inodes instead of blocks. David Bernal just subscribed. Okay, thank you. Let's go with dash I to show inodes here. One useful parameters is dash capital T, which will also print the type of each file system. Just a second. Streamlabs is answering subscriptions. Interesting. Once again, one useful parameter is dash capital T, which will also print the type of each file system. Okay, let's do that. Okay, good, very useful. Knowing the type of the file system, you can filter the output. You can show only file systems of a given type with the dash T type, or exclude file systems of a given type with the dash X type, like in the examples below. Let's go ahead and only list the FAT or exclude the FAT. Or maybe we can go ahead with Ext. So it doesn't catch Ext. I thought it would catch all of them. You have to type 4. You can also customize the output of df, selecting what should be displayed and in which order. Using the dash dash output equals parameter followed by a comma separated the list of fields you wish to display. Some of the available fields are source, the device corresponding to the file system type, the file system type, total size of the file system, how much space is being used, how much space is available, usage percentage, where the file system is mounted, so the mount point. If you want an output showing the target, source type, and usage, you can use this command. So let's do it here. So we can see where it is mounted, which file system, which type, and usage percentage. df can also be used to check inode information by passing the following fields to the dash dash output: total number of inodes in the file system, total number of used inodes in the file system, the number of available inodes in the file system, the percentage of used inodes in the file system. Jel klima još radi? Ne, ja, počeo sam se pregrijavati, pa ono. A ne znam, ja to već osjetim. Iceblade like a data structure that stores information about a file or directory and stuff like that. I don't know too much about that, but it's something about the data structure. Not sure where that would be useful, but maybe we can look it up if you want. Maybe actually we should. Let's go to Red Hat website. Linux file systems, let's zoom in. Linux file systems are complicated things to understand. Every time you run the ls command and see the output, understand that the data about the files you see is stored somewhere separate from the files themselves and must be called up. Inodes are behind the scenes working hard, so you don't have to. Let's take a look at what precisely an inode is and what it does for us. By definition, an inode is an index node. It serves as unique identifier for a specific piece of metadata on a given file system. Each piece of metadata describes what we think of as a file. So inodes operate on each file system independent of the others. Where this gets confusing is when you realize that each inode is stored in a common table. In short, each file system mounted to your computer has its own inodes. An inode number may be used more than once, but never by the same file system. The file system ID combines the inode number to create a unique identification label. This is getting too complex for this lesson, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, does my question make sense? Is it good? Why these terms and conditions always appear? How do I remove this crap? Imagine your computer is like a giant library full of books. The books in this library are your files, and each book has its own special number that helps you find it on the shelf. In the world of computers, that special number is called inode. It's like a little tag or label that stores information about the file, but not the file's actual content. Let's break it down a bit more. File type, permissions, owner, size, date, location. Okay. Hard link, yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead. Maintaining extended file systems. To check a file system for errors and hopefully fix them, Linux provides the filesystems utility or file system check. And you will never forget the name. Okay. In its most basic form, you can invoke it with filesystems followed by the file system's location you want to check. Never run filesystems on a mounted file system. If this is done anyway, data may be lost. Okay, so shall we try to do a file system check? Do we have anything that I can unmount or is already unmounted? SDA1 is ext4. Lovely. Let's do that. FSCK dev SDA1. Well, we're done. Apparently it's clean. Probably doesn't have too much stuff inside, so there's nothing really for checking. FSCK itself will not check the file system. It will merely call the appropriate utility for the file system type to do so. In the example above, since a file system type was not specified, FSCK assumed an ext 2, 3, or 4 file system by default, and it called E2 FSCK. To specify a file system, use the -t option followed by the file system name like the FSCK-t vfat and then the destination. Alternatively, you may call a file system specific utility directly like fsck.msdos for fat file systems. Type fsck followed by tab twice to see a list of all related commands on your system. So these are the finishers. FSCK can take some command line arguments. There are some of the most commons. -A, this will check all file systems listed in etc fstab. -C displays a progress bar when checking a file system. Currently only works on extended file systems. Let's do that once again. That was -C. Why didn't it work? The wrong command, sorry. No progress bar, too fast. And this will print what would be done and exit without actually checking the file system. -R, when used in conjunction with -A, this will skip checking the root file system. V, for verbose mode, prints more information than usual during operation. This is useful for debugging. The specific utility for ext 2, 3, and 4 file system is E2 FSCK, also called fsck.ext2 or x3 or x4. These are merely links to E2 FSCK. By default, it runs in interactive mode. When a file system error is found, it stops and asks the user what to do. The user must type Y to fix the problem, N to leave it unfixed, or A to fix the current problem and all subsequent ones. Of course, sitting in front of a terminal waiting for E2 FSCK to ask what to do is not a productive use of your time, especially if you're dealing with a big file system. So there are options that cause E2 FSCK to run in a non-interactive mode. -P, this will attempt to automatically fix any errors found. If an error that requires intervention from the system administrator is found, the tool will provide a description of the problem and exit. -Y will answer yes to all questions. -N is the opposite of Y. Besides answering no to all questions, this will cause the file system to be mounted read-only, so it cannot be modified. -F forces file system check to check a file system even if it's marked as clean or has been correctly unmounted. Let's do that. Let's add verbose just to see the difference. "69 inodes used." Nothing particular on this file system. Fine-tuning an extended file system. Ext 2, 3, and 4 file systems have Giovanni Quina. Thank you for the sub. Ext 2, 3, and 4 file systems have a number of parameters that can be adjusted or tuned by the system administrator to better suit the system needs. The utility used to display or modify these parameters is called tune2fs. To see the current parameters for any given file system, use the -l parameter followed by the device representing the partition. The example below shows the output of this command on the first partition of the first disk. Okay, let's do that. So here are some of the information about our file system. Next, file systems have mount counts. The count is increased by 1 each time the file system is mounted. And when a threshold value, the maximum amount count, is reached, the system will be automatically checked with the E2 file system check on the next boot. So where is the mount count? 0, maximum mount count -1. Here is 8. The reason why it's 0 here, I'm pretty sure it's because I have just did a file system check on it. Let's mount it. Dev sda1 to monitor unmount /tmp. Let's mount it again, unmount it. What? How is it not mounted? The hell? It is mounted. Unmount / okay, sorry. My bad. Let's see the mount count. Should be 2. There we go. Mount count 1. How is it 1? Touch minute something. Unmount. Okay, mount count 1. I am a bit puzzled. It's still mounted. It's still mount count 1. And it's still mounted. Now I'm confused. How is it still mounted? Unmount -minute. And it exits with no errors, which means I have done my job. I have nothing to report. And then we check it, and yes, it is unmounted. Does tune... No, it doesn't have... No, that wouldn't make any sense. So now it says mount count 1. Again. Let's mount it one more time. Let's mount it one more time. Mount 2 minutes. It is mounted. Let's unmount it. It should be unmounted. It is unmounted. Let's check. Okay, now it's 2. It behaves slightly odd, but maybe there is an explanation. Okay, I want to do a file system check and then see if the mount count will reset. Okay, we have checked the file system and the mount count is now reset. So this is fine. You could increase the maximum mount count to something like, I don't know, 50, and have it checked every 50 mounts. But yeah, the count is increased by 1 each time the file system is mounted. And when a threshold value is reached, the system will be automatically checked with E2 file system check on the next boot. The maximum mount count can be set with the -c parameter, where the number is the number of times the file system can be mounted without being checked. The -C sets the number of times the system has been mounted to the value of n, so you can manually set this number. Note that the command line parameters are case sensitive, so lower caps C is not the same as uppercase. Let's do that. 50. Setting current mount count to 50. And yes, it has been mounted 50 times. Definitely. It is also possible to define a time interval between checks with the -I parameter, followed by a number and the letters D for days, M for months, Y for years. For example, -I10D would check the file system at the next reboot after every 10 days. Use 0 as the value to disable this feature. -L can be used to set a label for the file system. This label can have up to 16 characters. So this is for extended file system, for ext4. Not for every file system, just ext4, or not sure about ext2. For example, butter file system can have a lot more characters in the label. The -U parameter sets the UUID for the file system, which is a 128-bit hex number. In the example above, the UUID is this. Both the label and the UUID can be used instead of the device name to mount the file system. The option E, behavior, defines the kernel behavior when a file system error is found. There are 3 possible behaviors. Needs to open the window. Okay, continue will continue execution normally. Remount read-only will remount the file system as read-only. Panic will cause a kernel panic. The default behavior is to continue, period. Remount-RO might be useful in data-sensitive applications, as it will immediately stop writes to the disk, avoiding more potential errors. Ext3 file systems are basically Ext2 file systems with a journal. Using tune to fs, you can add a journal to an Ext2 file system, thus converting it to Ext3. The procedure is simple. Just pass the -j parameter to tune to fs, followed by the device containing the file system. I think we did that on the last stream or something like that. Afterwards, when mounting the converted file system, do not forget to set the type to ext3 so the journal can be used. When dealing with journal file systems, Neil Thompson says, "Hi Streamlabs." When dealing with journal file systems, the capital J parameter allows you to use extra parameters to set some journal options, like size to set the journal size in megabytes, like location to specify where the journal should be stored, either a specific block or a specific position on the disk, with suffixes like M or G. Apparently for megabytes or gigabytes, and even put the journal on an external device with the device equals parameter. You can specify multiple parameters at once by separating them with a comma. For example, size equals 10, location equals 100M, device equals SDB1, will create a 10 megabyte journal at the 100th megabyte position on the device SDB1. Tune to FS has a brute force option, so -F, which will force it to complete an operation even if errors are found. Needless to say, this should be used with extreme caution. And we switch to the next file system. So, everyone on the stream, how has it been so far? Like, is it putting you to sleep, or is it interesting, or something in between? Do you want me to speed up, slow down, repeat sentences twice to have a better understanding? I'm going to interject with a life story, specifically for Iceblade, but also for everyone else. The unfortunate thing about using Linux today or starting to use Linux today is the if I can present it in this way, Linux today is too easy. And what I mean by this is that the vast majority of Linux distributions have so much automation going on out of the box that the average user doesn't really have to know all of these things because almost everything just works. So if I am if I'm going to sound like an old man or something like that, back in the day, back in the day, it was very normal for the file systems to get regular file system checks. It was very often that file system would have issues uh, during the boot process. I don't really remember ever losing any data on any extended file system, and I did start using Linux since the days of X2. I do remember very clearly the days when we switched to X3, and X4 has been the de facto standard for way too many years now. But back in the X2 days, it was fairly common for, I don't know, kernel to crash on me for various reasons, and on the next boot, it would have to do the file system check. It would enter the verbose mode. No, not the verbose, interactive mode. I would have to read what it says, tell the file system check to fix my stuff, and pretty much always it would fix the problems because I never really had any big issues, and usually it was a desktop computer or something like that. But nowadays, so many things just work that it really requires a lot of willpower for a new user slash wannabe system administrator to learn how stuff works under the hood in order to understand why his or hers Linux distribution slash operating system is working as well as it does without any human interference. I think it's just awesome, but it does make us, I wouldn't really claim lazier, but it does give you less reasons to dig under the hood. Leon Mertz is asking if is XFS a precursor to zettabyte file system. I'm not sure. ZFS is really old, like really, really old, coming from Solaris from 1990, I think. Maybe not the exact that year, but really old. And XFS, I can't remember who invented XFS. I know. Did you hear my dog barking? I just want to know how well the filter is working. XFS is heavily used by Red Hat nowadays, but I'm not entirely sure who created it. You heard half of the bark? Okay. Let's ask the bot to answer our questions. XFS was initially developed by Silicon Graphics in the 93 for IRIX operating system. I actually used IRIX for a little bit and was later released under GPL and ported to Linux. ZFS was created by Sun Microsystems on Solaris operating system on 2005. So that was a huge mistake on my end. Huge mistake. Let's see what the bot thinks of this question. Distinct development timelines. Mm, 2009. While he was working at Oracle. Well, I think we can go on. But usually the biggest advantage, I suppose, of the XFS is that it works really well and fast with large files. With large files, that lets like its signature feature, while ZFS is like a copy and write file system, really resilient to a lot of interference. Maybe the most resilient not operating, but a file system for data storage. Might not be the fastest file system, but definitely and most probably the most resilient to any kind of interference. Part 2 of today's live stream. Maintaining XFS. For XFS file systems, the equivalent of FSTK is XFS repair. If you suspect that something is wrong with the file system, the first thing to do is to scan it for damage. This can be done by passing the N parameter to XFS repair, followed by the device containing the file system. The dash parameter means no modify. The file system will be checked, errors will be reported but no repairs will be made. Let me see if I have XFS. No. Let's make it on SDB1. SDB1. Okay, let's mount it. Dev SDB1 to minute. Let's copy something in there just to have something in there. Like, let's copy everything from root. No space left. Okay. Okay. So it's full. 913 megs. Full completely. Neil Thompson is asking, all byte, no bark. Unmount minute. So we want to check the file system. Oh, they also use SDB1. That's kind of neat. Phase 1. Find and verify superblock using internal log, zero log, scan found root in inode chunk, scan but don't clear, check for duplicate blocks. Okay. If errors are found, you can proceed to do the repairs without the n parameter, like so. And the repair command accepts a number of command line options. So let's just skip the n and see what it does here. Well, basically the same, but there aren't any errors. What we could attempt to do, let's mount dev sdb1 to minute. Let's go to that folder, minute. Okay, so this is my virtual machine on which we are working. Let's force it off. So I have unplugged the power from the machine. Let's run it again. It's currently booting. Okay, the root file system was automatically checked. I'm not sure if you caught it, but it did. Let's SSH in there once again, sudo -i. Okay, let's xfs repair dev sdb1. Let's do the -n first. Oops, I clicked by accident. Sorry. Moving disconnected inodes to lost and found. Let's do that. Done. Let's mount it. Dev sdb1. Okay. There is no lost plus found. Okay. Okay, good. I suppose we didn't manage to make a dent in the mounted file system in the XFS. Nothing was really being written to XFS at the moment when I killed the machine. So it is what it is. These are needed if the file system has external log and real-time sections. In this case, replace logdev and rtdev with corresponding devices. -m is used to limit the memory usage of the repair command to n megabytes, something which can be useful on server settings. According to the manual, by default, the repair command will scale its memory usage as needed, up to 75% of the system's physical RAM. -D, the dangerous mode, will enable the repair of file systems that are mounted read-only. -V, you may have guessed it, verbose mode. Each time this parameter is used, the verbosity is increased. For example, -V will print more information than just -V. Let's do that. This will not work unless we unmount it. It's busy. No, it's no longer busy. Why is it not scrolling up? Now it's scrolling. Okay, let's kill this one. Something got stuck in Kitty when I killed when the SSH session died. Where were we? We were looking at verbosity. Okay, we can skip that. Note that XFS repair is unable to repair file systems with a dirty flag. You can zero out a corrupt log file with the -l parameter, but keep in mind that this is a last resort, as it may result in file system corruption and data loss. To debug an XFS file system, the utility xfsdb can be used. This is mostly used to inspect various elements and parameters of the file system. This utility has an interactive prompt, like parted, with many internal commands. A help system is also available. Type help to see a list of all commands, and help followed by the command name to see the more information about a particular command. Maybe we can check it. xfsdb. Weird. Help. Okay, that's a lot of commands for debugging. Free block usage information. Not allocated. Parent. Metadump. Display reverse mappings. That's enough for now. Suffice to say, Pizarro 25, hello, am I late? You are 2 hours late. Or maybe, actually, no, 1 hour. 1 hour late. I think suffice is to know that this command exists. So if you will ever become an XFS hacker, you will probably want to learn this command first. This utility has an interactive prompt. We did that already. Another useful utility is XFS FSR, which can be used to reorganize or defragment an XFS file system. When executed without any arguments, it will run for 2 hours. Why for 2 hours? And try to defragment all mounted writable XFS file system listed in the etc mtab file. You may need to install this utility using the package manager for your Linux distribution, as it may not be part of a default install. For more information, consult the corresponding manual page. Does anyone on the stream not know what defragmentation is? Neil Thompson, we do our best to start the stream at the same time every Sunday. We are generally always late with the lesson itself, but the stream itself always does start at the same time. Northern Chimp says he doesn't know what defragmentation means. Let me find a picture. So I don't have to draw it. Let's see which one best represents. Okay, Northern Chimp. On the left side, fragmented disk. On the right side, defragmented disk. Before explaining this part, you must understand how the reading head works in a hard drive. This part here, the reading head. Once again, this is not a hard drive, but it is circular, so it's easier to explain. So my nail is a reading head, and my finger is the arm that carries the reading head. So the head is the circle part here. It's a lot smaller in reality, but this is just a photo. So the disk always spins. Of course, let's turn it this way. The disk always spins, but the reading head can only do this. The reading head only can do this. It doesn't circle around the hard drive. It only can go from inside to outside and back, and nothing else. So if you want to read, let's look at the fragmented disk. Fragmented basically means that the data is being written all over the place. I will explain why that happens, but first let's go with the fact. Let's go with a fragmented disk. So let's see the yellow file. So whatever is painted yellow, this is just one file. whatever is painted yellow, it is just one file. So let's pretend that this is a large movie that is, I don't know, a Blu-ray rip, and it's 20 gigabytes large. So yellow is one big movie, just one file. So in order for you to copy this file to another folder or another hard drive or whatever, the head would go, let's say, from the outside. So from the outside, first it would read this part, and then it would read nothing until it makes a circle, and then it would move a little bit, and then it would read a little bit more, and then nothing for almost the full circle, and then it would move to the third row and read a little bit more. So what you see as a yellow here is not just one row, but let's say 1,000 tiny rows, very tiny rows on the outside circle. 1,000 outside circles of a hard drive. So the head reads just a quarter of the circle, and then it waits for 3/4 for the disk to spin, and then it moves towards the inside a little bit. Then it reads another quarter, and then it waits for another three quarters. Then it moves a little bit, and when it comes to this part here in the middle, the head will need to move in the middle, and it will read like 1/8 of a quarter for the when the disk is spinning, and then it will wait a lot, and it will move a little bit. I hope I have managed to explain it. This is defragmented data. This is fragmented data. Defragmented data is when all of the data is structured physically on the disk in a way that when you copy one file, the head moves as little as possible because it takes a lot of time for the head to move back and forth. So if the head has to do a lot of moving, it slows down the copy process by a big margin. If the data is structured on the disk in a way that the head doesn't really have to move, or just like very tiny movements, then copying and reading the file is a lot faster. So how the fragmented data happens? Basically, when the disk is completely clean, and when you put a file on the disk, it will write it on the outer edge of the hard disk, and it will be defragmented by design. Then you would put a second file, and it will still be neatly arranged. And then you would put the third file, it will still be neatly arranged, and etc. And after like 5,000 files, all neatly arranged and perfectly defragmented, then you would delete your 2,000th file, and then you would have a hole at some point in the middle of all of your data. And the next file that you would write, it would start writing in that hole, but it wouldn't fit in there. So after it wouldn't fit in there, it would just continue writing wherever it can fit. And after a while, let's say after half a year, your hard drive will look fragmented, like on the left side. That's fragmentation. Fragmented hard drive is technically not any kind of a problem, except that it slows down reading process and basically writing as well. So it's just everything becomes slower over time. So you need to do regular defragmentation on the hard drive if you want to have it faster. That's all it comes down to. There was another nice picture here. This is hard drive as well, but laid out a little bit differently. And basically what the defragment procedure does, it takes a file, it moves it somewhere else, then it reorganizes the beginning of the hard drive the best way it can, then it moves this file back to the beginning, and basically it just shuffles the files until it arranges them in the best way possible. And it takes quite a lot of time. Oh, and we're finished. I was not expecting this. Using do, how can we check? Neil Thompson is wondering why Windows XP cool 3D looking icons went out of style. Maybe a better question for you. Why is Apple's iOS 26 switching to Windows Vista design? It's a genuine question from me. Why does the next iOS from Apple, the next one that's coming this year, why does it look like how old is Vista? Like 19 years old or something? You're not aware of that? If you start paying attention to the news from today onwards, you will notice a lot of internet memes explaining how, like laughing. How, I'm not saying it doesn't look nice. I'm just saying that it looks like Windows Vista. So it looks like it took inspiration from there. Let me show you something. I got a nice meme. Not sure who sent it to me. I can't find who sent me the meme. I lost it. I lost it, but it was a good one. "3D icons are coming into fashion in Android lately." It's all good. Guys and girls, using do, how can we check how much space is being used by just the files on the current directory? Let's answer all of the questions and then we can talk. I need an answer for the first question. Iceblade really did not think before posting. The question is asking how can we check how much space is being used by just the files on the current directory. The command that you have given us in the chat will exclude files that are called text, which could work, but it's not what the question is asking. Even if I'm not 100% sure in my own answer, I am sure that yours is incorrect. I think the answer is -d 1 for the depth, like just the current directory. Do not go recursively. So -d 1 or maybe even 0. I didn't write. But I think it's -d as a parameter to limit the recursiveness just to the current folder. Or maybe I misunderstood the question as well. Can we switch to the second question or? A little bit hard for me to pronounce the name, but TechYog says do-sh. Okay, shall we go with the next one? We are going to get to the answers in a couple of minutes, so we can double check what we wrote, what we answered. Second question. Using df, list information for every ext4 file system with the outputs including the following fields in order: device, mount point, total number of inodes, number of available inodes, percentage of free space. I feel like Zoran is not here. He would be having answers already. I would say that the answers for this, I do not know the answer, the complete one, but I would say df and then -t ext4 for type, like -t ext4, and then, well, I don't remember how it goes with the output configuration. I can give it a try. Do you want me to give it a try on the command line, or do you want to go blindly into the answers to the questions after giving your opinion on what the correct answer is? What does it sound more? Xlibre says -output equals size, inode, etc. But you forgot the -t. You forgot to put the -t ext4. They want to filter out ext4. Can you hear the dog now? It doesn't bark anymore, but it did bark 3 times in the past half a minute. You now heard the dog, okay. I was just wondering how well these filters work, right? So the noise reduction here is using, if you look at the bottom right corner, it's using RN noise. Let's call it technology, but it's not perfect. Then there is deep noise remover, which is using something called deep filter net. I think that I have seen that this filter is developed for hearing aids, because hearing aids amplify everything. So when it amplifies into your ear, I suppose you don't want to hear everything, but people around you and stuff like that. So basically, it's a noise remover. This one is also not perfect, but these two together are better than just one of those. So that's why I'm using both. But apparently, they're not perfect even together. Yeah, I think Iceblade is correct with the latest answer in chat. What is the command to run E2 file system check on SDC1 in non-interactive mode while trying to automatically fix most errors? I think it's just dash Y, as in answer yes to all questions. Iceblade thinks it is capital N. Okay, I think it's lower caps Y. Any other opinion in chat? We are kind of doing it blindly today. At least I am. Okay, no more answers. Let's go to the next question. Suppose dev SDB1 is ext2 file system. How can you convert it to ext3 and at the same time reset its mount count and change its label to user data? This is a tougher one, but it should be really easy if you use the tool on your own command line and check the help. So you need to convert it to X3 with one command and reset its mount count in the same pass and change its label. How do you do that? You do not remember what tool used for that? Tune to FS. I'm not sure why Neil has open mouth. We're not really doing anything that would warrant the open mouth. I'm giving Iceblade some time to find the correct answer in his Windows subsystem for Linux. with the command tune to fs. I project that Xlibre is going to stumble on the first part in regards to how to convert to X3, but the second and the third part are a bit easier. Go Xlibre, 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 Xlibre. Let's see if I can finger Xlibre. Ah, there we go, I can. Look, it worked. Xlibre says tune to fs dash r for count dash capital L for label, but convert to X3 you have no clue. Check the manual again where you saw these commands and see what the dash J does. What the dash J does. I'm talking from my head. I'm not even checking the facts. Just a little bit of work for all of you who are engaged interactively in the stream. Neil Thompson is asking, are those called flags or arguments or both? Flags. Flags. Xlibre. Did you check what this what the dash J is? Oh, it can't be that hard. Noise filter did not filter that out. I was just wondering if it will. Says J is add an X3. Yeah, exactly. J will add the journal to the X2 file system, which is the only difference between X2 and X3. So once you add the journal to the X2 partition, after that you can use this file system, this partition, as X3. So generally you can say that you have converted it to X3. I am air quoting converted it simply because X3 and X2 are basically the same, with the only difference being journal is present and active or not active. So once you put the journal with the J command, on the ext2 partition file system, then you can mount it as ext3 because ext3 requires and works with a journal. But after you put the journal on the ext2 partition and it is now being used as ext3 partition, you can still unmount it and mount it again as ext2 partition, and it will work. It just won't use the journal. So it all comes down to whether the journal is generated and whether it is being used. And it is being used by the fact of how have you mounted it. So generally, once you created the journal, you will want to mount it as ext3 partition every subsequent time. But in the year 2025, it is fairly unlikely that you will use ext2 or ext3 partition. This is more like a retrospective into what it used to be. From my own, this is my own opinion. I really do not believe that you will stumble on any server where you will want to convert ext2 to ext3. There is a small chance that as a system administrator, you will stumble on an old server which does have ext2 partition. But as I said, it is unlikely that you will have the need to convert it to ext3. There is a higher chance that you are going to migrate the entire server to something modern and then simply use a modern file system. Neil Thompson says if you set your noise filter gate to a higher dB level, the barks and sneezes will be filtered out, but you run the risk of some of your quieter spoken words also getting filtered out. I'm not sure about sneezes because sneezing is very loud, a lot louder than I speak. So I don't think that it would filter out that. But dog, that one probably would get filtered out, yeah. Iceblade says -J -R -L is my final answer. Northern Chimp is asking, can it become bloat if you fiddle too much? If I fiddle with what? With the command tune to fs with the file system, or if I fiddle with my voice filter? How can you check for errors on an XFS file system without repairing any damage found? What is the command for that? Because you moved off to the side, the sneeze did come out fairly quiet. Ah, yeah, you may be right. You may be right, yeah. XFS repair -N. I think it's capital N, to be honest. I think it's capital N. But I'm not sure. Either way, we both agree that it is one of the N's. It is one of the N's, yeah. I think it's a capital one, but we will see. Consider we have an ext4 file system on the SDA1 with the following parameters obtained with tune to fs. Mount count 8, maximum mount count -1. What will happen at the next boot if the command tune to fs-c9 is issued? We'll run a scan on next reboot. I'm not sure. Northern Chimp is asking, did the first part of my question not go through? How much disk space does the journal take? Sorry. Yeah, it did come through. I just didn't see it. How much the journal takes by default? The thing is, you can set the journal to a certain size, but Iceblade is saying nothing will happen except the count change. Yeah, I think nothing will happen as well. I think nothing will happen as well. But let me see. Tune to fs-l dev. I'm looking for the journal size on X4 partition. My dog barks up to minus 40 decibels. Let's see if I can filter it out. Gate. Hmm. A lot of options here. Attack, release, threshold. Threshold minus 24. Minus 24. It can still hear me. Why, why can it still hear me? Why can it still hear me if it's set to minus 24? I can see in OBS that I'm now talking at minus 45, roughly. And it should block me from talking this quiet. I know you hear me very quiet. That's the point. The noise gate doesn't work. I'm not sure how this works. I can disable this noise gate and add a noise gate here, like minus 45. Okay, so this is OBS. This here is OBS. So OBS is easy. You just have close threshold when it closes. So the gate closes at -45. So anything quieter than -45 will not pass through. And it needs -37 to even activate. Okay, so I need to be louder than -37 to even trigger the noise gate, yeah? But I don't want to have noise gate in OBS. I want to have it here. I have disabled the noise gate on OBS for now. We'll tune it soon. The answer to Neil, I think Neil is asked for the journal size. I think journal size is fixed and it cannot become bloat. I'm just not sure how big it is. Consider the following output of du-h. How much space is occupied by just the files on the current directory? How could we rewrite the command to show this information more clearly? X2 does not have a journal at all. X3 has a journal and X4 has a journal. How much space is occupied by just the files on the current directory? I'm kind of waiting for anyone to answer. Neil Thompson says it looked like Streamlabs bot with the drop me a coffee comment reminded you that you had coffee getting cold in the mug. Yeah, I just finished. Iceblade says D-U-C. Well, the first question is how much space is occupied by files. So let's answer this one first. How much space is occupied by files? In this example here. $232 kilobytes. No. It's 0. Neil Thompson says, having watched your microphone video, I think there is also a threshold settings in the noise reduction and one other filter that you do have enabled. Okay, we will try that. We will try that after the 5th question. So directory. There are no files here, so I think files are occupying 0 space. Maybe. Or no, I'm mistaken. The question is, I kind of misunderstood the question. The question is, how can we rewrite the command to show this information clearly? I don't know. I would usually go with do-hs, but that will not show me the dot files, at least not by default. So how do we do it for the entire folder, for all of the files in the entire folder? Icebed is aiming for some directory, another directory, but the question is about the current directory. I don't know, we could try with do-hs and then dot for the current folder. But I'm not sure it would show the I'm not sure it would complete this task. Minus D1. Well, that's a good attempt. I would add HS as well to your command. Oh, the 0 requires -D. Okay. Let's try the rest of the questions. HD0. Yeah, that could work, yeah. what would happen to the ext2 file system if the command below is issued? Tune to fs-j sdb1 capital J device sdc1 I 30D. I'm pretty sure that I know the complete answer to this question, so I'm gonna leave it up to you to answer it. What would happen? So obviously 3 things are going to happen. You can put it in chat, the answer for all 3, or you can else answer one by one. Xlibre says it would turn it to X3 and name it dev sdc1. It would not do that and run every 30 days. It would run what every 30 days? I suppose that you mean the correct thing, but it would be nice if you write it in chat if you know the answer. Run what? Run what? It would scan the file system every 30 days. Okay, so this part here, you got this one wrong. The lower caps J is putting a journal on the file system, basically converting it to X3. You got that fine. The capital J, as far as I remember, is telling the file system that its journal is going to be located on a different file system. The journal for SDB1 would be placed here. Finally, we heard real Darth's voice. Yeah. Was that the doggy or some death metal vocals? No. It's just my dangerous voice. No filters. Sorry. I can't do that for long. It's very... I must create a lot of pressure on my throat to do that. Anyways, the journal goes to another file system. How can we check for errors on XFS file system that has a log section on dev sdc1 without actually making any repairs? Now this I definitely cannot answer without looking at the manual. I have seen it during this lesson, but I completely forgot the command. You have to, when you're checking the file system, and if it has a log file on a different volume, you have to tell it where the log file is, the log section. Iceblade. Well, you can run the help from the utility. It was actually a near perfect imitation of the Shockmaster, which is impressive because the Shockmaster was, I don't know what this says, Ole Anderson using a pitch shifting vocal effect. I don't know what Shockmaster is. Something with wrestling. Okay. You don't have XFS progs. Okay. Well, suffice to say that we cannot answer this, but the thing is you have to do the XFS command for the repair command, and there is a parameter that you pass with a flag for the log section, wherever it is. You just have to look it up in the manual. What is the difference between the -t and -t parameter for df? I don't remember. Does anyone else remember this? I forgot. The difference is the case. Alexei got it right, but there will be a better answer for sure. I win. Yeah. df-t don't do anything. Okay, let's see the answers. Using disk usage, how can we check how much space is being used by just the files on the current directory? First, use the -s parameter to separate the output of the current directory from its subdirectories. Then use -d0 to limit the output depth to 0, meaning no subdirectories. And don't forget the H for human readable format. I don't believe that we used capital S in our answers. But I think we did the HD part, HD0. Using df list information for every X4 file system. Yeah, so Iceblade answered df and then the output first. Then I reminded about this part and then we got it right. I do remember this. What is the command to run e2fsck in a non-interactive mode while trying to automatically fix most errors. So I said -y and I was wrong. And I don't think that anyone else has answered -p. You guys did answer something, but it wasn't -p as far as I remember. So automatically try to fix as many errors as possible. -p. Suppose it's an X2 file system, how can you convert it to X3 and at the same time reset its mount count and change its label? Remember that converting an X2 file system to X3 is just a matter of adding a journal, which can be done with the J parameter. To reset the mount count, use the capital C0. To change the label, use the -L user data. The correct answer is this. Now, let me see what Iceblade wrote. I think he wrote this, but I don't remember. Was it capital C or small caps? Lower caps, was it? No, Iceblade says -R. Iceblade, you have placed -R here. I don't see that you have used C at all. I'm scrolling back through the chat. I don't see where you wrote C. You said -R is your final answer. How can you check? Really? -R does the same as C0? Okay. How can you check for errors on XFS file system without repairing any damage found? So I think you said lower caps N, and I was thinking about the uppercase N. So let's give it a win for you. Consider you have what will happen at the next boot. I was actually wondering if this was a trick question, because I thought if it's 8, and if we set the max count to 9, then it would just mount next time for the 9th time, and it will not check it. That's my way of thought was. So I thought that it would check the file system on the next reboot after mounting it for the 9th time. But apparently it checks as soon as it reaches this number, not after that. So that's my mistake. Consider the following output. How much space is occupied by just the files? Of the total 232 kilobytes, 224 are used by the directory samdir and its subdirectories. So excluding those, we have 8 kilobytes being occupied by the files on the current directory. This information can be shown more clearly by using the -S parameter, which will separate directories in the count. I don't think we got the answer for this one as well. what would happen to the X2 file system if the command below is issued? A journal will be created. The journal will be stored on another device, and the file system will be checked every 30 days. Okay, so we cleared this one. How can we check for errors that has a log section elsewhere? XFS repair followed by -L for the log section and pointing it to the right place to indicate the device containing the log section. Add -N to avoid making changes. So this one I couldn't remember which flag it is. What is the difference between capital and not capital T for DF? The uppercase one will include the type of each file system in the output, and dash lowercase t is a filter, and it will only show file systems of the given type on the output, excluding all others. It's a fairly easy lesson, but as usual, a lot of parameters to memorize in your brain. And none of this comes easy without practice. So that's kind of the worst thing about modern Linux. There isn't too much scenarios where you would really practice these things, simply because everything is pre-configured in a way that it pretty much just works. So modern Linux systems don't really force you to learn anymore. It is very much awesome at the same time as being a little bit of a shame. But yeah, it's fine. It just requires that you have to be very dedicated in learning, compared to me like 30 years ago when I was forced to take care of my file system X2, which would have errors very often. It never, I don't think it ever fell apart, but it did have errors. I think Neil told me to look for the noise gate within these two filters, or maybe here. Voice detection. It has some kind of threshold. I don't think this is a noise gate at all. Minimum processing threshold. I don't think this is noise gate either. Voice detection for speech processor. Maybe noise suppression. Maybe this is a noise gate. But I'm not using this filter anymore. This effect. Exciter. I turned off this one because I don't really know what it does. I can't hear myself any differently with this turned on or off. So I'm not entirely sure. Which filters are the ones you're using right now? The ones with arrows. The ones with arrows are being used in this direction, meaning that deep noise remover is being applied after the noise reduction, and stereo is being applied after deep noise remover. The ones that have pause button here are paused, like not currently used. I can delete them completely. It won't make any difference. Reverberation is kind of fun because the reverberation is doing some very fancy things. Okay, I'm not gonna do that again. It's a lot better this way. What settings are within noise reduction? It just uses the standard model from RN noise, and then you also have voice detection, but voice detection is disabled. It's just being applied to the entire audio. So I'm not sure how it behaves when I enable voice detection. I tried to enable this, but it sounded worse for me, so I just left it disabled. It is also disabled by default, so it kind of made sense to leave it disabled. This so this here is the input. Actually, the upper part is the input that is being received into this effect. If we go to the first part, you can see that it is constantly receiving something. See, minus 50 something constantly. That's noise around me. But it's only receiving on left channel. Let's put stereo tool in the beginning. Okay, so now stereo tool is receiving noise. And now noise reduction is receiving minus 55 noise on both channels. Because I have converted my mono to stereo before it enters the noise reduction. And then when we go to deep noise remover, see here, it's receiving very little noise because the noise is already reduced. Might be hard to see or hear the sound when other filters are on. Let me add the noise gate again. What is multiband gate? Let's see that one. Let me just see. No, 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 no. This is more complicated than any noise gate I've ever seen. Yeah. Multi-band gate. I don't even know what this is. Let's go back to normal gate. Okay. Sidechain filters, high pass, low pass. I would need to understand what high pass and low passes are. You want to be in the gate section? Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that I don't understand any of the remainder of the sections. That's all. The only thing I know about noise gates is that you need to have certain amount of decibels to open the gate. This is usually a higher value, and then you need to have a certain number of decibels to close the gate, and this one is usually lower value, and it is being used if I start talking and I open the gate. Maybe in the middle of my sentence my voice will become a little bit more quiet by accident or something, so you don't really want to close the gate in the middle of the sentence just because my voice went lower for a split second. But I don't really understand which ones are those. I would say that the threshold is the one that opens the gate. Change threshold to -10 and see how that sounds. That doesn't make sense, but let's pull the gate to the beginning. Let's pull the gate to beginning and see how it works here. I think you can hear that. Let me see what enters stereo tools. So it does something. See, when we are looking currently at the noise. I mean, not the noise. We are currently looking at the level of input that is entering the stereo tools effect. So when I stop talking, it is how much? 75, -75 with the gate applied. If I remove the gate, now it's -50. So the gate is doing something definitely. But how is it -75 if the threshold is minus 24. That part is unclear to me. Nothing has changed. I have moved the threshold to minus 10 and literally nothing has changed. You think it works in reverse? Because once again, this is OBS. So noise gate in OBS works in a way that you have to tell it which loudness is required to open the gate. While here, it seems to be the opposite. Okay, let's bring it down. I don't see any difference. I don't know what the threshold is doing at all. Attack threshold, minus 20 dB, minus 24 dB. You know what I want to accomplish? I want to accomplish when I go to stereo tools here. You see on the stereo tools, when I'm not talking, it says, let me remove the noise gate. When I'm not talking, it says minus 50. Okay. I want noise gate to create minus 99 when I'm not talking. I want, when I enable noise gate, to see minus 99 in the input to the stereo tools. Neil says if you set threshold to 0 decibels, nothing will make it through. Okay, let's test that. Let's test that just to confirm. You can't hear me. I think you can hear me. I think you can hear me, but it's a lot more quiet than it used to be, isn't it? I can see my VU meter on the other screen. It's really quiet now, right? Yeah, so it is incorrect that 0 will not let anything through. It still lets stuff through. It's just decreased in volume. Why would the noise gate lower the volume? That's totally unclear to me. The reason why I don't believe you that minus 30 will be fine is because when I go to stereo tools, I want to see minus 99 here. And it's not giving me minus 99, so it's not doing what I want. You're now sounding good. No, I don't believe you. I have been sounding good for the entirety of today's session. The goal is not for me to sound good. I already sound good. The goal was to cut off the dog. What we want is we want a noise gate which will not open anything before the sound crosses minus 45 decibels. That's what I want. I know how to do that in OBS. I don't know how to do it in here. This here is not the gate that I want. You say that I now sound good, but let's disable noise gate. Yeah, now it's disabled and I still sound good. There is no difference. The problem is not in me talking. The problem is in the dog. When you say yes, you do, I never am 100% sure what are you referring to because the stream is lagging. So if I say like 5 sentences and you say yes, then I'm missing some context. Can you change reduction to minus 99? I don't know how to use this noise gate. If I will use noise gate, I may be forced to use it on OBS because this one is weird. Okay, let me just use. This is what you want. You sound the same with or without the gate. We want to hear you, and with the quieter sounds will not get through. I don't think that's correct. Let me enable noise gate again. Okay, so now it's enabled again with minus 30. And let's go back to stereo tools. Let's try to simulate a dog. No. The dog is not barking. I'm just singing la 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 la, but very quiet. I was trying to simulate like minus 45 decibels of loudness. That's what I was doing. Because when the dog was barking the last time, I was watching my VU meter and it was jumping up to minus 45 whenever the dog barked in a different room. So all I wanted to, with my singing, was to stimulate the loudness of minus 45, and it seems to be working, but I'm not entirely sure why. I'm gonna put it to minus 35 just to be sure. Okay. I suppose it's fine now. I suppose it's fine now. We should ask the dog to start barking. Let's save this preset. I have set it to automatically load on system boot, so I don't need to fire up this application. I'm gonna ask my dog to bark. Vanja, nemoj doći, nisam te tražio da dođeš. Jel bi mogla zamoliti pasa da krene lajati? Da je pokažeš nešto što želi pa je ne daš. This is the bark. Da još malo. Hvala. Okay, I think that's good. Just let me know if my voice starts cutting off at minus 30, because Neil said that it was cutting off at minus 24. So 30 is not that far from 24. It would be good to know if it ever stops working properly. Let's save this preset once again. Okay, barking is gated. Could it be different if the dog is in the same room? Yes, it could, but the dog never barks in this room. So, actually, I'm lying. She does bark in this room when we are alone in the house, and when people are passing through the hallway outside. She can hear people passing, and then she starts being angry at people who pass in front and stuff like that. But we'll see. Just let me know in the beginning. Neil Thompson says, Dart, I've been telling you minus 30 dB for 10 minutes. Yes, I know, but the whole gate, this whole gate is unclear to me, and it's not hard for me to listen to you and do as you say. But the problem is that I want to understand what I'm doing. That's the problem. This gate works differently than the gate I'm used to. It has too many parameters. Also, the release, not sure if 100 millisecond is good. Let me see what I have tuned in OBS. Look, in OBS I have attack 30 millisecond. Here it's 20. I guess that's similar. But the release I have on 1 millisecond. And here it's 100 milliseconds. So I suppose when I open the gate, it will hold it open for 1/10 of the second. I had it a lot more aggressive on OBS. You think the attack and release times are reasonable? Yeah, I think so too. But it's good to test these things. To hear the end of a breath. Gotta go. Bye, everyone. Iceblood says, "Yeah, we can finish. We can finish for today." I don't remember if I saved the last version. Save. Now I did. Okay, we can close. We can close this program. It should continue working. Yeah, it's still working in the background when I close it. I think it's a service or something on the user part of systemd. We can close this one as well. And we can log out of this one. Was it anything that you wanted to discuss for the next few minutes? Or shall we end it for today? I think I want to go to sleep, to be honest, to go to work early in the morning. This was something that I was planning to watch, but never did. Neil says, okay, Dart, the Shockmaster video on YouTube is... so I should search for it, right? Am I supposed to copy that video? $145. I need headphones for this. Although there is a chance I could get a copyright strike or something if I play this video. Food. Let's see how can I listen to this without... I know how. Okay. I will not play it back to you, only for myself. Yeah, I hope that wasn't heard on stream because it was a lot longer than 10 seconds. Okay, I found this. Can I? Okay. This I found. I'm not sure if everything from here is from this particular video, but it did sound like something along these along these lines. I should close the door from the room because I don't want my wife to think that I went crazy.
So you're the man that rules the world. They call me the Shockmaster. You rule the world long enough. Sid Vicious, get ready. Come on, you want a piece of me? You want a piece of me? Come and get me. Come after me. Sid, I'm ready. Along with Davy Boy, Sting and Dusty Rhodes, we'll see you at the Fall Brawl. At the War Games. Until then,
Okay. I'm back. I think I deserved some water. It's just fun and games. Not even sure how long would I be able to do that. My throat actually doesn't hurt. A little bit, but I think I could go on for a couple of minutes or something. Yes. Shall we end the stream? Because we did say that a little bit of humor in the end would end the stream. So I'm gonna see you. Neil Thompson says, like I said, the actual Shockmaster was done using a down tuning effect. So you having done it with no effect is pretty awesome. Yeah. There are people who can do. I mean, what I just did is really insignificant to what some people can do with their voice, and I have looked some of them on the YouTube. I'm still not sure if I can watch them together with you guys on this stream, but stuff like was it Pablo Picasso? I think there was a stand-up comedian, Pablo Picasso. I think it was his name. He was pretending to be the movie announcer. You know, when you're watching an ad for the movie, like look up Pablo Picasso, and maybe I can do it, but not play it. Not that one. This is not what I remember. I don't know. If I find it, I'm gonna paste it on my matrix room. It was quite funny. I follow a lot of wrestling stuff, and you do the best naturally done Shockmaster impression I've ever heard. Thank you, thank you. I don't watch wrestling, but it's uh, it's a nice thing to say. I don't know if you heard, but the car just crashed in front of my window into something. Both of them are alive. A guy in a silver Mercedes has run over a Volt food delivery guy on a bicycle, but both of them are standing. Можешь? Ага. Yeah, I'm gonna end the stream here and see you next Sunday.